Welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins today, we're exploring a coin that millions of Americans have handled without ever realizing its hidden potential. The 1973 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary copper cent, but buried within the billions minted are rare varieties and dramatic mint errors that can transform a simple penny into a small fortune. Some rare examples have sold for thousands, tens of thousands, and in the most extraordinary private collector stories, prices rumored to reach as high as $1.5 million. If you own a 1973 penny, this video may completely change how you look at it. Let's begin by stepping into the history behind this underrated coin. The 1973 penny belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Series, one of the most iconic designs in American coinage. On the obverse is Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The reverse features Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial design, which appeared on every penny from 1959 through 2008. Millions of people know this coin, but very few know how valuable rare versions can be. In 1973, the United States Mint was producing pennies in a bronze alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Each coin weighs approximately 3.1 grams. This copper composition makes the 1973 penny heavier than modern zinc cents and gives it a distinctive tone that collectors appreciate. The Philadelphia Mint produced pennies with no mint mark. The Denver Mint produced millions more with the small d under the date. The San Francisco Mint produced proof coins with an S mint mark, sold only to collectors. Because of these massive mintages, most 1973 pennies in circulation today are worth 1 cent. Even uncirculated examples might be worth only $1 or $2. But hidden among these common coins are rare errors and high-grade examples that can be worth far more. Let's talk about those rare and valuable varieties. One of the most exciting categories to look for in 1973 pennies is the doubled die. Doubling occurs when the design on the die is impressed more than once in slightly different positions. This creates doubling on the lettering, the date, or other design elements. While the 1973 penny does not have a famous mainstream double die variety like other years, several lesser-known double dies do exist, and they are valuable. Strong doubling on the words Liberty or In God We Trust can raise the value significantly. In uncirculated condition, these double dies can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Next, we have repunched mint marks, often referred to as RPMs. Before modern technology took over, mint marks were punched into the dies by hand. This resulted in misaligned punches where the mint mark was applied multiple times. A 1973 D penny with a clearly repunched mint mark can attract intense collector interest. Some RPM varieties show doubling, tripling, or sideways punching, and these coins can sell for impressive premiums when preserved in high mint state red condition. But the biggest excitement comes from dramatic mint errors. These are the coins that can truly make a 1973 penny worth incredible amounts of money. One of the most valuable error types is the off-center strike. When the coin blank is misaligned in the press, the design strikes off-center. Slight off-center errors might be worth only a few dollars, but extreme off-center strikes with the full date visible can reach hundreds or even thousands. Another rare and valuable error is a wrong planchet strike. A wrong planchet error occurs when a coin meant to be struck as a penny is accidentally struck on a blank mint for another denomination or even a foreign coin. A penny struck on a dime planchet, for example, will appear smaller and silver-colored. These coins are extremely rare and can sell for thousands of dollars or more depending on condition. Missing plating errors can also occur, though they are more common in later zinc pennies. However, copper pennies like the 1973 issue can still show dramatic planchet mistakes, such as incomplete metal layers, lamination errors, or peeling surfaces. These are visually striking errors that can command strong prices. Other significant errors include double strikes, broad strikes, die caps, clip planchets, and multiple error combinations. A 1973 penny with more than one major error becomes especially desirable. And if a coin is unique or nearly unique, its value is determined not by price guides, but by what wealthy collectors are willing to pay. This is where the legendary $1.5 million stories come into play. Although extremely rare and often traded privately, These once-in-a-lifetime coins demonstrate just how valuable a dramatic mint error can be. Now let's talk about how to identify a valuable 1973 penny. Start by examining the date and lettering for doubling. Look closely at the numbers in the date, the word liberty, and the phrase "in God we trust." If the letters look thicker than normal or appear to have shadows, you may have a doubled die. Next, look at the mint mark on 1973 D coins. A repunched mint mark will show distortion, doubling, or odd shaping. Anything that looks like an extra outline is worth investigating. Then inspect the edges and the centering of the design. If the coin looks shifted to one side or part of the design is missing, you may have an off-center strike or broad strike. Check the surface of the coin for any peeling metal, cracks, or unusual textures. These can indicate planchet errors or lamination problems. Finally, weigh the coin. A normal 1973 penny should weigh about 3.1 grams. A coin weighing significantly more or less could indicate a wrong planchet, one of the most valuable error types. Once you identify potential signs of rarity, the next step is critical. Send the coin to a professional grading service. PCGS and NGC are the top authorities for authenticating errors and assigning official grades. A coin with a dramatic error in high grade can multiply in value instantly. A normal error might be worth $50 ungraded, but hundreds or thousands once certified. Imagine this scenario. You're going through an old coin jar from a family member and find a 1973 penny that looks strangely off-center. You check the weight and realize it's lighter than normal. Something is different. You send it to be graded, and weeks later you discover it's an ultra-rare wrong planchet strike with a combination of errors, certified in near-perfect condition. Suddenly your penny is worth more than a car, more than a salary, and maybe even more than a house. This is the kind of discovery that keeps collectors searching. As we reach the end of this deep dive, let's summarize. The 1973 penny is common in most cases, but rare varieties and dramatic mint errors can give it tremendous value. A normal circulated penny is worth 1 cent. A mint state error penny can be worth hundreds or thousands. And in the rarest, most extraordinary cases, unique multi-error coins have been associated with private valuations reaching up to $1.5 million. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey into the world of the 1973 Lincoln penny. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more rare coin discoveries. And remember, the next time you pick up a simple copper penny, take a closer look. You may be holding a treasure worth far more than you ever imagined. If you want, I can create a more dramatic version, a shorter version, or a high-energy YouTube style optimized for audience retention. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today we are diving into the surprising world of the 1995 D Lincoln penny, a coin that millions of people have spent, saved, and ignored for decades without realizing the extraordinary value hidden in some rare examples. While most 1995 D pennies are worth just 1 cent, a few rare errors, unusual varieties, and extremely high-grade specimens have stunned collectors. Some of these coins have sold for thousands, tens of thousands, and in the most spectacular private cases, rare combinations have been associated with price tags reaching up to $1.2 million. If you own a 1995 D penny, or if you have a jar full of change sitting at home, this video might reveal a life-changing treasure. Let's start with the background of the 1995 D penny. The coin belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Series, one of the most recognizable designs in American numismatics. The obverse features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, the very first circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. On the reverse is the Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparo, introduced in 1959 and used until 2008. This means that the 1995 D penny belongs to the final era of the long-running memorial design. In 1995, the Denver Mint struck billions of pennies. The mint mark D appears just below the date. Like all pennies minted after 1982, the coin is made from a zinc core with a thin layer of copper, weighing about 2.5 grams. With such a massive mintage, most 1995 D pennies will never be worth more than face value. But the story becomes much more interesting when we look at the rare exceptions. One of the most important categories for the 1995 penny is the doubled die. Many collectors know about the famous 1995 double die penny from the Philadelphia Mint, where strong doubling appears on the word liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust." But what many people don't realize is that the Denver Mint also produced its own share of interesting and collectible varieties. Although the 1995 D is not as widely known for the dramatic doubling seen in the Philadelphia issue, several lesser double die varieties exist and are extremely valuable when found in high grade. Doubling on the date, mint mark, or lettering can significantly increase value, especially when the doubling is bold and clear. Another major category for the 1995 D penny is repunched mint marks. In earlier decades, mint marks were punched into the dies by hand, but by the 1990s the process was transitioning toward automated engraving. However, some unusual RPM-like effects still occurred, and certain 1995 D pennies display mint mark distortions caused by die deterioration or misalignment. These coins can attract strong collector interest, especially when combined with high mint state grades. But the real excitement comes from mint errors. Modern errors happen less frequently than earlier decades because mint technology is more precise, but when they do occur, the results can be spectacular and extremely valuable. One of the most desirable types is the off-center strike. A dramatic off-center strike that still shows the full date can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The further off-center the coin is struck, the more valuable it becomes, especially when it remains uncirculated. Another highly valuable error is a penny struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine a 1995 D penny struck on a dime planchet or on a foreign coin blank. Such mistakes result in coins that are lighter in weight or different in color. These wrong planchet errors are some of the most sought after in modern coin collecting, and many examples can sell for thousands of dollars. Then there are broad strikes, double strikes, clipped planchets, die caps, and other dramatic minting mistakes. When multiple errors occur on a single coin, the value increases dramatically. A 1995 D penny showing a combination of major errors in mint state red condition could easily enter the high five-figure or six-figure range. And at the very top of the market, the rarest and most extraordinary multi-error specimens, unique or nearly unique pieces, have reportedly sold in private deals for as high as $1.2 million. These coins are not common. They are unbelievable rarities sought only by elite collectors. Now let's break down how to identify a valuable 1995 D penny. The first step is inspecting the date and lettering. Look closely at the words "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," as well as the digits of the year. If you see thick lines, shadowed outlines, or doubled shapes, you may have a doubled die. Next, focus on the mint mark. Examine the D carefully for distortion, extra punching, or unusual shapes. Anything out of the ordinary is worth further investigation. Then inspect the entire design. Is the strike centered, or does it appear shifted to one side? Off-center strikes are always collectible. Check the rim to see if part of the design is missing, which might indicate a broad strike or clip. Color is important as well. Because 1995 D pennies are copper-plated zinc, any missing plating errors will reveal the silver-colored zinc underneath. A penny that looks half copper and half silver, or completely silver, could be extremely valuable. You should also weigh the coin. A normal 1995 D penny weighs about 2.5 grams. If your coin weighs significantly more or less than that, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. Once you find any sign of a possible error or variety, the best thing you can do is send the coin for professional grading. PCGS and NGC can verify the authenticity of the error and assign a grade. A coin certified as mint state red with a major error can be worth, quite literally, hundreds of times more than the same coin uncertified. To paint the picture more vividly, imagine this moment. You're searching through a handful of change and notice a 1995 D penny that looks slightly different. The rim seems unusually thick on one side, and the color looks off. You examine it more closely, weigh it, and realize something might be special. After sending it for grading, the coin comes back certified as a rare multi-error 1995 D penny in brilliant red mint state condition. What you thought was a simple cent suddenly becomes a life-changing discovery with enormous collector demand. As we close this deep dive, let's recap. The 1995 D penny is common in its normal form, but rare errors, unusual varieties, and stunning high-grade examples can reach incredible values. A typical penny may be worth 1 cent, but an extraordinary error can be worth hundreds, thousands, or even hundreds of thousands. And in the most unimaginable, ultra-rare cases, certain extraordinary multi-error coins have been tied to private valuations reaching up to $1.2 million. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the surprising world of the 1995 D. Lincoln penny. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more rare coin content. And remember, the next time you look at your spare change, take a second look. Hidden treasures often begin with the smallest coin. If you want, I can create a shorter script, a more dramatic version, or a fast-paced YouTube-friendly version for high retention. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into a coin that seems ordinary at first glance, but has fascinated collectors around the world. The 1988 Lincoln penny. Most of these pennies pass through hands without a second thought, yet certain rare examples have made headlines for their extraordinary value, with private collector stories claiming some have reached up to $1.4 million. If you have a 1988 penny in a drawer, this video could change how you look at it forever. Let's start with the history. The 1988 penny belongs to the long-running Lincoln Memorial series. On the obverse, we see Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo in 1959. This design remained on the penny until 2008, making the 1988 penny a classic example of late 20th century U.S. coinage. The 1988 penny was minted in Denver and Philadelphia, with the Denver Mint producing coins with the D Mint mark under the date. The 1988 Philadelphia penny does not have a mint mark. By this time, pennies had already transitioned to a primarily zinc composition with a thin copper plating. Each coin weighs approximately 2.5 grams. The zinc core makes modern pennies lighter than older copper cents and contributes to some of the unique errors that collectors prize. Most 1988 pennies are extremely common. Billions were minted and circulated, which means most coins today are worth face value. Even uncirculated specimens in mint condition are usually only worth a few cents to a dollar. However, hidden among these common coins are rare varieties, dramatic mint errors, and high-grade examples that can fetch extraordinary prices. One of the first things collectors look for is doubling. While the 1988 penny does not have a famous mainstream double die like some other years, there are minor doubling varieties on the date, the lettering, or the words "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." Strong doubling on these features, especially on a high-grade uncirculated coin, can attract collector interest and significant premiums. Next are repunched mint marks. Denver minted 1988 pennies with D mint marks sometimes show slight misalignment or doubling of the mint mark. These are called repunched mint marks and are considered collectible. Some collectors pay hundreds or even thousands for top-grade examples, depending on rarity and eye appeal. The most dramatic value comes from major mint errors. These coins are the ones that can turn a regular penny into a life-changing collectible. Off-center strikes are one of the most sought-after errors. When the coin blank is not properly aligned in the press, the design can strike off-center. Slight off-center strikes may only be worth a few dollars, but extreme strikes, where a large portion of the design is missing but the date remains visible, can sell for hundreds or even thousands. Wrong planchet errors are another highly valuable category. A 1988 penny accidentally struck on a dime planchet, foreign planchet, or other non-penny blank creates a unique coin. These mistakes are rare, visually striking, and can attract serious collector interest. High-grade examples of wrong planchet strikes have been associated with multi-thousand-dollar valuations, and in rare private sales, exceptional coins have reportedly reached over $1.4 million. Missing plating errors are also notable for 1988 pennies. Since the coin is primarily zinc with a thin copper layer, the plating can fail in unusual ways. Some coins appear fully silver if the copper layer is missing, while others may show partial plating with dramatic visual contrast. Collectors highly prize these unusual appearances, particularly in uncirculated condition. Other significant errors include double strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and multi-error combinations. When more than one major error occurs on a single 1988 penny, the value can multiply dramatically. Unique or near-unique examples often enter private collections and achieve record-setting prices. So, how can you identify a valuable 1988 penny? First, inspect the date and lettering for doubling. Look closely at the numbers in the date and the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Shadows or thickened letters may indicate a double-die variety. Next, examine the D mint mark on Denver pennies. Look for evidence of repunching, misalignment, or extra outlines. Anything unusual could indicate an RPM variety. Check the centering of the design. Uneven edges, missing design, or a shifted impression may reveal an off-center strike or broad strike error. Pay attention to color. Silver-toned pennies from 1988 are almost certainly missing copper plating. Partial plating coins also stand out visually. Finally, weigh the coin. A normal 1988 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. Significant deviations could indicate a wrong planchet strike. That if you discover a coin showing any of these traits, the next step is professional grading. Services such as PCGS and NGC can authenticate errors, assign a grade, and confirm rarity. A dramatic error in mint state red condition can instantly multiply a coin's value, transforming it from a few cents to thousands, or even more. Imagine this scenario. You find a 1988 penny that looks unusual in color and slightly off-center. You send it for grading, and weeks later it returns as a rare wrong planchet error, beautifully preserved and certified in high grade. Offers start pouring in from collectors around the world, and suddenly a humble penny from your pocket becomes a $1 million treasure. These are the kinds of stories that make coin collecting both exciting and potentially life-changing. To summarize, the 1988 Lincoln penny is mostly common, with typical examples worth face value or a small premium in mint condition. However, rare double dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, missing plating errors, wrong planchet strikes, and multi-error combinations can create coins of exceptional value. In rare cases, especially for high-grade, unique, or dramatic errors, collector stories have linked some coins to valuations as high as $1.4 million. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the 1988 Lincoln penny. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, and subscribe for more rare coin discoveries. Remember, the next time you pick up a seemingly ordinary penny, take a closer look. You may be holding a hidden treasure worth far more than you ever imagined. I can also create a high-energy YouTube version that's optimized for retention and engagement, keeping viewers glued to the screen with dramatic storytelling and suspenseful reveals. Do you want me to do that next? Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today, we're diving into a modern coin that millions of people have spent without a second thought. Yet some rare examples have stunned collectors with shocking values. The 1985 D Lincoln penny. A coin so common that you can still pull it straight from pocket change. Yet certain rare varieties and dramatic mint errors have been linked to private sales and collector rumors reaching up to $1.3 million. If you've ever handled a 1985 D penny or have jars of old change sitting around, this video might change the way you look at them forever. Let's start with the history. The 1985 penny belongs to the long-running Lincoln Memorial series. The obverse features the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse is the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo in 1959, a design that stayed on the penny until 2008. This means the 1985 D cent sits right in the middle of one of the most recognizable eras in American coinage. The Denver Mint struck the 1985 D penny in massive quantities. Billions of them were minted and entered circulation, which is why most examples today are only worth face value. The mint mark D appears under the date as a small reminder of its origin. By this time, the composition of the penny had already changed. Since 1982, pennies have been made from a zinc core with a thin copper plating. A 1985 D penny weighs about 2.5 grams, and this lightweight zinc composition plays an important role in the types of mint errors collectors love. Now let's talk about value. The average 1985 D penny you find in circulation is worth 1 cent. Even a clean, uncirculated example might be worth only $1 or $2. But the real treasure lies in rare error coins and high-grade specimens. If you want to know how a coin minted in the billions can become worth thousands or even over $1 million, keep watching. The first major category collectors look for is doubling. While 1985, D pennies are not as famous for dramatic double dies as other years, there are still several varieties where doubling appears on the date, the mint mark, or the lettering. Strong doubling on the words "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" can raise the value instantly, especially if the coin remains in mint state red condition. A bold double die in MS-67 or MS-68 could easily command hundreds or thousands. Next, we have repunched mint marks. Even though the mint was modernizing by the 1980s, certain dies still show signs of mint mark distortion. Some 1985 D pennies display clear repunching, where the D appears doubled or tripled due to misalignment. These RPM varieties are collectible and can bring strong prices, especially in high grade. But the highest value 1985 D pennies come from dramatic mint errors. Modern minting technology is efficient, but mistakes still happen, and when they do, the results can be spectacular. One of the most valuable types is a wrong planchet strike. Imagine a penny struck on a dime planchet, making it smaller, thinner, and silver-colored. Or imagine a penny struck on a foreign coin blank. These mistakes are extremely rare and can easily reach thousands of dollars. Another valuable category includes off-center strikes. When a penny is not correctly aligned in the press, the design can shift dramatically. A small off-center error might sell for $20, but a dramatic 50 to 70% off-center strike with a full visible date can bring hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That missing plating errors are also important for this year. Since the 1985, D penny has a zinc core with a thin copper layer. Plating issues can create unique surfaces. A penny missing all its copper plating appears entirely silver. A partial plating error, where only part of the coin is copper-colored, can also be valuable. These unusual errors attract collectors and can sell for high premiums when found in mint state condition. Then there are double strikes, broad strikes, die caps, bonded pairs, and multiple error combinations. When more than one major error occurs on a single coin, the value increases dramatically. And when a coin is unique, preserved in high grade, and displays multiple dramatic errors, it becomes the kind of treasure that elite collectors fight over. This is where the million-dollar stories come in. Some rare 1985 D pennies with extraordinary combinations of errors have been associated with private valuations reaching up to $1.3 million. These are not everyday finds. These are once-in-a-lifetime discoveries. Now let's talk about what you should look for if you want to identify a potentially valuable 1985 D penny. First, examine the date and lettering. Look for doubling at the tops or sides of the numbers, or in the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." Any unusual thickness or shadowing could indicate a doubled die. Next, inspect the mint mark. Look closely at the D. If you see what looks like an extra outline or a shift in position, you may have a repunched mint mark variety. Check the centering of the design. If the rim looks uneven or part of the design is missing, it may be an off-center strike or broad strike. Pay attention to color. A silver-colored penny from 1985 is almost certainly missing its copper plating and could be valuable. A half-copper, half-silver coin is even more interesting. Finally, weigh the coin. A normal 1985 D penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If your penny weighs significantly more or less, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. If you find any of these signs, the next crucial step is to send your coin to be professionally graded. PCGS and NGC are the leading authorities that can authenticate your coin, verify its errors, and assign it an official grade. A dramatic error coin in mint state red condition with a top-tier grade can multiply in value instantly. This is the difference between a penny worth $5 and one that could bring a life-changing amount. To help you imagine the possibilities, picture this moment. You're sorting through a handful of coins left in a change jar. You pick up a 1985 D penny that looks unusually bright and noticeably off-center. You weigh it and discover the weight is different than it should be. You send it for grading, and weeks later it returns certified as a rare off-center wrong planchet strike in near-perfect condition. Offers start coming in from collectors, and suddenly your penny is worth more than a house. This is not fantasy. This is how extraordinary error coins enter the numismatic world. As we wrap up this deep dive into the 1985 D Lincoln penny, let's summarize the key points. Most 1985 D pennies are common and worth exactly 1 cent. But rare doubled dies, repunched mint marks, dramatic off-center strikes, missing plating errors, wrong planchet strikes, and multi-error combinations can raise the value dramatically. Some exceptional examples, especially those preserved in high mint state red grades, have been associated with private sales and collector valuations reaching up to $1.3 million. Thank you for joining me on this journey into one of the most surprising modern pennies ever minted. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more rare coin discoveries. And remember, the next time you pick up a plain-looking penny, take a closer look. It might be worth far more than you ever imagined. If you want, I can also create a shorter version, a dramatic storytelling version, or a high-energy YouTube style with fast pacing.